Well, hello everybody, and how are we all doing? It's the Sunday night Podding Shed live chat, and as I've expressed today, I'm going to be talking about what's your gardening Bible. That's coming up in just a moment, but before that, what have you been up to in your own allotment and gardens? Let me know in the comments. And I can see already we've got lots of comments coming in nice and fast. So first of all, Adrian, hello to you. Philly SPB, hello to you. Oracle Odds Allotment is asking how everybody is. Hello to you. Turbo Streamers, hello. Evening Veg Growers. What else have we got? Adrian, who else have we got? Oh, Ballycillian has came in with hello all. My gardening Bible would be the RHS Encyclopedia of Gardening, a great reference book. Amanda Joy, hello to you. We've got a couple of photos coming from Amanda a bit later on. We've got somebody, Stuart Reynolds, who's watching in the Facebook group. If anybody else is watching in the Facebook group, unfortunately, you may not see my comments for the link, or you may not know who you are. Just do as Stuart said and just mention who you are. Richard Golding, hello to you. Lots and lots and lots of other comments all coming in thick and fast. So I'll come back to those in just a moment. But what have you been up to in your own allotments and gardens this week? Now, I was lucky. I had Friday off work and I spent the day on the allotment. The weather wasn't too bad, to be fair, but the odd few showers, but on a whole, I managed to spend the whole day down on the allotment, ripping out lots and lots of weeds. And basically just enjoying the day on the allotment. What else have I been up to? Yesterday, I've been at home. I've been tidying up a few bits and pieces, potting up a lot of plants and getting ready to get them into the ground. And today, I popped to a garden by an Instagrammer, Lisa Mary. I can't pronounce her surname, so just trust me on that. I popped to a garden up in Oxted. Absolutely beautiful garden. So much larger than my garden. I was incredibly jealous. And that's coming up on the podcast on Monday. So over to you guys. What have you been up to in your own allotments and gardens? So let's have a look. So Turbo Stream. This week I direct sowed beetroot and lettuce on the plot, forked over the bed, and generally just tidied up a bit in between rain showers. Yeah, the rain has been a real fantastic, I think anyway, real fantastic showers that we've been having. Although I could do with a little bit less and just a few more dry spells. Stuart Jackson is joined and saying, evening Richard, hope you're well. Just got in from gardening, potting on loads of seedlings. Something that we all seem to be doing at the moment is potting on lots of seedlings. Andrew Noyce has joined and managed to get in for the intro. Hello to you. Chi, hello to you. Hope you are well. Ernie, hello to you. Evening Richard. You're welcome to come over to our house to check out what we're doing. Oh, sorry, I can't see that. But in the garden of our new house in Deepest Dorset, we'll arrange something then. We'll have to figure a day out, and I'll pop on down. If there's any abandoned buildings near you, my wife would be really interested as well. Sean James Cameron has joined. Hello to you. Raining heavy in London, he says. My dad's joined. Good evening to you. Hope you're well. Richard Phobes, hello to you. Crikey, well, I've skipped past loads of comments there. Julia Hartley, good evening to you. Turbo Stream has also, it's rained most of this week here in Birmingham, so the ground is too wet to work now. Isn't it amazing? A few weeks ago, we were wishing we had rain. It was too dry to do anything with our allotments or our gardens because the ground was just like concrete. And now we've had all this rain. It's we're not happy, are we? We are never happy, are we? It's something that we've got to take care of. Somebody in the Facebook group has joined. Good evening to you. My dad is asking, how did you get on with the foxes in the garden? Haven't seen them since. Just had a couple of cats. We haven't seen the foxes since, and the cameras haven't caught anything either. In case you didn't know, we had a fox who attacked one of my chickens. Chicken is absolutely fine. Boona is absolutely fine. She's living her life and back to normal, very much unafraid of anything. Stuart Reynolds, I think this is, has planted corn on the allotment last week. Fantastic. I've got my sweet corn in the pots as well, as you would have heard it on the podcast last week. Chi Arnold, I've done a second sowing of sales in some salads, beetroot and radish. I have a fox that loves to dig and snails, so I grow a lot under cover and plant out when it's bigger. Absolutely. Yeah. I don't tend to have too many problems with snails, in all honesty. I think because of the amount of seagulls we have, but I still start pretty much everything off undercover and get going and make the most of it. What else have we got going on? I need to borrow Amanda. I have a lot of ivy to hack back. Yes, she loves hacking back ivy, my wife. In fact, she started working on an old fort just to hack away the ivy. Ballycillian, I have planted out beetroot, peas, scallions, cabbage and sprouting broccoli today and planted my tomatoes and corn in the pony tunnel. Fantastic. A lot of work basically going on. Sean has been busy, but trenching in between showers. And Durka, hello from Canada. 10 a.m., 16 degrees, weeding here in British Columbia. Hello, everyone. Fantastic. Now, as always, you can call into the show on the... I'm just getting this. Call in on the show on the phone number 07307 135 174, or you can zap yourself in on the link that's just going up in the comments around about now. So gardening Bibles, that's what I want to talk about today. We hit on this slightly last week, and I thought this is going to be a really good conversation to have this week. Now, with that in mind, I have brought along what I call my gardening Bible. Let's polish down here and bring the second camera in. Come on, there we go. So yes, it's the Alan Titchmarsh, The Kitchen Gardener book, and I love this book. I brought this, I don't know, about 15 years ago, 10, 15 years ago, if I remember right, when I basically was just hunting around and trying to find books to read and make the most of. And I love this book because it's quite a really thick, long book, and but it doesn't focus so much on well, it's got the ground rules at the beginning, but it doesn't really, it gives you ideas on how to set your allotment or your vegetable patch up, but a few pests and diseases. But where it really comes into its own is where it goes into details about all the plants that we could be growing. And I've never found one book that covers so many vegetables in just this one book. So Globe artichoke, for example, or Jerusalem artichoke, asparagus, aubergine, broad beans, celeriac. Just flick through this book and it is just full of so much information. We've got fruit and vegetables and herbs as well. Everything I feel is covered in this. Passion fruit, as I don't know if you can see that. Passion fruit like this. It's just full, in my eyes, of a lot of information. And as you can see, it's quite a thick book. So, you know, this is a sizable, decent sized book. Let's get rid of that shot. Come on. There we go. So yeah, I'm really like this book, and it's what I call my gardening Bible. It's the first book I tend to go to if I want to find something out. And quite often, when I'm doing a podcast, I'm talking about a particular vegetable, and I need to cover things up. That's what I go to. Now, here's somebody who might be able to where's my mouse gone? Here's somebody who might also have a very good gardening Bible. Hello, Sean.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you doing today?
I've dug out my first gardening book, and it's from 1982, and you can still buy it now, but they're very difficult to get hold of. And it's this one. It's called the Allotment Gardener's Handbook by Mr. Titchmarsh. But look how young he looks.
Wow, fantastic! 1982, the year I was born.
Well, and I just love the pictures in there, like the drawings.
Yeah.
And it goes through every single vegetable. But because it's in the 80s, because it was written in the 80s, sometimes you have to take some of that information and sort of update it to what it is these days. But this was my very first book that I bought. And I did find a few copies on Able Books, I think it was. So I bought some others because I didn't want this one to go and get too dirty. Because you always find your best gardening books you keep in the house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Whereby you should really keep them in the shed.
Yeah, but they'll get damp in the shed and the paper will deteriorate.
Maybe that is a market to investigate, a shed-safe gardening book.
Yeah. No, I think you're onto something there.
And then after this, I then moved on to the Hessian books, which I've still got.
Yeah.
But yes, this was my very first one. And I wanted to show it because I thought not a lot of people might have actually seen it.
No, I've never seen that one. So, I mean, I've never seen or don't ever remember seeing Titchmarsh looking that young either. So
it was a type of book that you never gave to anybody else on the plot because they were so difficult to get hold of back in, when did I get my first plot? I think about 93 I got my first plot in Wales it was quite expensive. It was £1.50 a year.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So yes, so that's my little contribution to the debate.
Fantastic. So far we've got 2 books for Alan Titchmarsh.
There you go.
There we go. Lovely. Well, thank you very much, Sean.
Hopefully when the rain stops.
Yeah, well, it stopped down here. Hopefully it will stop up there for you.
Well, I'm in the middle of digging my entire plot over. I haven't even put a seed in yet.
Really?
But I don't feel behind with it all, though. Maybe if this was the first week in June, maybe I would be. But I do think the last frost is gone now for us.
Yes, I agree. But I think we're just waiting for it just to get a little bit warmer, and then we're ready to go. Then
it's full steam ahead, and then we'll be complaining it's too hot again.
Definitely.
Radio then. I'll catch up with you again.
Yep, have a good one. Thank you very much. There we go. So that's 2 books from Alan Titchmarsh, which I'm rather surprised about. I mean, I used to love Alan Titchmarsh when he was on the telly years and years ago. But yeah, 2 gardening Bibles. Let's have a quick look at the comments. So Ian Beddoes has potted on peas and tomatoes, but all still in the greenhouse. Fantastic. And Stuart Jackson, at school we have sown beetroot, carrot, fennel and broad beans in this last week. Speaking of Stuart Jackson, who happens just to be in, hello mate.
Hello, evening all.
Hello, how you doing?
I just thought I'm doing fine, mate. I've been out in the garden all day, working hard, not doing many veggies, I must say. It's trying to keep my sale table going, but I thought I'd bring a different book, a different author to the book tonight. Now, let's see if I can get it. So it's, you see that?
Yes,
Jeff Hamilton.
I've actually got a picture of that. I think I've got a picture of that.
Yeah.
Where is it? Where is it?
Yeah, I think I put it on. I think I put it on the group. No, this isn't.
Yes.
This is one I've inherited from my dad. So when we lost Dad, that was the one book I took out of his bookcase, and he had, like most gardeners, more books than you could throw a stick at. But I found that since I've been veg gardening, this man's a genius. He's a bit like Titchmarsh. He doesn't like using any pesticides, any slug pellets, anything that's going to harm the wildlife in the garden. He treats the garden like you would the countryside. So it's very sort of eco-friendly. But this was, I think this was first published in 88, 89, something like that.
Right. I've got to admit, I'm a little bit too. Sorry.
Too young.
So I was saying, I'm a little bit too. I'm a little bit too young to remember Jeff Hamilton, but all I hear is good things about him. So I'm probably going to have to go and research him a bit more and find out more about him.
He's to me, he's in between Titchmarsh and Bob Flowerdew.
Right.
He's not so his way out as Bob Flowerdew. And I think, I could be wrong, but Titchmarsh, wrong word, Titchmarsh sort of referenced him a lot because he's that much older than Titchmarsh, or he would have been if he was alive now. So,
yeah.
He just, as you know, I don't like using anything that's going to harm anything, because I work with the children as well. I can't, if I wanted to use slug pellets, I couldn't. So you have to use alternatives. So, I use the eggshells at home, and at work we use wool, alpaca wool, to keep the slugs off.
Yeah.
So and I just feel Hamilton and Bob Flowerdew both were thinking about this, 30 years ago before anybody else mentioned it, really.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember reading about that, and he was all for organic and not using chemicals, which is, I think even back then, there were a lot of people talking about it and doing that sort of thing, which we think is a modern thing in some ways, but it's not.
No,
it's just more,
and it's
more common.
And I'm a bit like Sean as well. That your best gardening book is on the bookcase when it really should be in the greenhouse or your shed. But you can tell. Like I've got another book that I use if I'm trying to find it really hard to identify a plant. I will flick through it, and there ain't a page that isn't got muddy finger marks on. Or I've left out in the rain, and So I'm with Sean. You've got to buy 2 copies of a decent book, so you have one in your bookcase and one in your greenhouse.
Yeah, definitely. A bit like kids' toys have 2.
Yeah. I don't agree with Sean very often, but that was definitely a good point.
But the thing is, these days, we can pull out our phone when we're on the allotment or in the greenhouse and find all the information that we need to know. So do we really need a book? I like feeling it. I like that smell. I like that you can read up, and you don't only have, don't only read Jeff's book, I read other people's books as well. So you get different opinions, and what works for in your garden might not work for me. So you've got to find the right way, because you're the same as me. You've got clay, but if somebody's got clay soil and then somebody else has got sandy soil, you grow completely different things, or you have to work hard to get that ground ready, don't you? So I'm really picky what I'm sowing this year. Good. A book cannot tell you your weather in your area, so they might say to sow at this time, and I think everybody does this. We sow at this time, but that may not work. So I tend to sow probably a couple of weeks ahead of yourself, certain plants. But a book can't tell you the difference. But then that's the same as anybody on the internet or even on TV. You cannot predict each individual area.
No. And you can have 2 gardens in the same town, but because their microclimate is completely different, or one's north facing, one's south facing, it's different, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And a book, anything like that, cannot tell you the difference.
It's an aid, Rich, isn't it? It's an aid. It's not, we call them the Bible, don't we? We call our best book the Bible, but it's just an aid. It's to me, it's nicking ideas from people like yourself, Sean, Lee, different gardeners, but different gardeners have different ways, and it's just what works for you might not work for me. But if I then watch Sean, or I watch Lee, or I watch somebody else, they might do it a different way at a different time, then that might work for me. Yeah. So I just magpie everybody's ideas if I can.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah.
So we got.
Everybody else got books.
Yeah, well, we got 2 books for Alan Titchmarsh and a Jeffrey Hamilton, was it?
Yeah, and you had an RHS encyclopedia as well, didn't you?
And RHS encyclopedia as well. So the books are piling up.
Good. Well, I will go and let somebody else ring in.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for your contribution, and I'll see you next time.
All right, then, Rich. See you soon.
Cheers, mate. There we go. So that's this Jeff Hamilton, who I've heard a lot of good things about, but if I saw a picture of him, I honestly could not recognize him. I'm just slightly too young for that. On that, let's have a quick look. So, Ian McGorgan, Richard, have you got the book, The Victorian Kitchen, from the TV series? No, I haven't got that book, but I have seen the TV series. I watched it on YouTube on a playback. Fascinating. I'm always fascinated with the Victorian kitchen gardens anyway, or even the wartime gardens as well. I find how they built these gardens to be rather amazing and rather fantastic, how well they knew their plants and how they were, the Victorians particularly, how they really wanted to get that most spectacular plant or bananas or something like that growing in their garden just to say they could grow it. I think that is fantastic. So, Adrian, if the book's pages were plastic, I would think it would cost too much. That is also true. This is where I think something like a Kindle, I'm a big lover of a Kindle, does come into play, especially the waterproof ones that can cope with being out in the weather a bit more. Chi is saying she loves that program. I'm not sure which program we were talking about, but one of them. Jen, I couldn't pick one book in particular. Each book I have has different ways and styles that I like to try. Well, there you go. So, yeah, I think that's going to be true of many people. There might be some photos or some books that do better than others and in certain things, and certain books that aren't quite as good as others. And she goes on to say, I do enjoy my allotment grow guide book I've got for £5 in Lidl though. Actually, yeah, last year I brought a really interesting book about growing food indoors, in edible gardening indoors from Lidl, and I was surprised at that one. It was only a £5 as well. So there we go. Ian Beddoes is asking, was Jeff Hamilton a Blue Peter gardener? No, he was a Gardener's World, if I remember quite right. And Turbo Stream has gone on to say, yeah, I remember Percy Thrower on Blue Peter as a kid. Chi is saying, I have various gardening books, but I tend to do more asking others and going online. Going online is definitely something that I find I do more and more now. Yeah, I've got a huge bookcase full of gardening books. Last year we actually went through a lot of them and decided to get rid of some of them, partly because the information is being repeated and I'm not grabbing them so much. But two, even recipes nowadays, I just go online if I want to find something out. I have got a recipe coming up in a little moment as well. I tell you what, let's do the recipe. I've been cooking again. Which one is it? I think it's going to be that one. Yeah, I've been cooking again, and I've got something that I have made, which I'm going to eat in just a second. I've got to admit, on this one, my presentation of this is not the best. Like I said, the presentation I'm particularly bad with pastry for some reason. I can never get it to look as good as I like. But I have cut a piece off just here, and I want to find out. Oh, I've just broken the crust off, but never mind. Find out how it tastes. That is absolutely delicious. Love it. Love it. Yeah. I was looking for inspiration. I've got a load of asparagus coming through on the allotment now. Rhubarb and asparagus we're getting quite a bit of. And looking for some inspiration, and I thought that seems to work really, really well. Have a quick look on the comments. So Jen is saying it's not always about presentation, but the eating. I totally agree, but when I was doing a bit of training to be a chef, it was drummed into me that people eat with their eyes first of all, and you've got to make it look good. When it comes to pastry dishes, I just can never make them look good. That's just something I have a real problem with. Presentation doesn't matter when it's in your stomach. I agree. Amanda, I love a quiche. You've inspired me to make one. They're my husband's favourite, so he will be happy. Well, there you go. I will put this recipe on the website at some point. So if you want to check that out, it's really worth it. Chi is saying, Brill, love the recipe videos. It looks delicious. So fantastic. I'm pleased that is going down well. And Money Boots is saying, homegrown is best. Absolutely. That's why I want these recipes that can really work. If anybody has any recipes they want to share or make a little video like that up, or we can test out, please do get in and share them with me, because I'm content at the end of the day. Ian Meadows, should you slightly burn the top with a blowtorch? Nah, I don't think so. I wouldn't. Well, if I use a blowtorch, it'll probably end up doing a bit too much burning, shall we say? And Jesus is Chinese. That's wrong. Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to click on that one. I was going for this one. Jen, I have to try this. Please do try it. Please do. So I'm going to have another mouthful of this because I really want to try this. Absolutely delicious. So I shouldn't talk with my mouth full. I know I shouldn't. So if you want to call you in, it's 07307 135 174. Or if you want to zap yourself in just like Sean and just like Stuart, the link is going up right now. Turbo Stream is saying brown under the grill would brown that top really nicely. Well, there we go. I didn't think of that. I was just more, I want to get it done and I want to get it eaten. Right. So carrying on with allotment Bibles. Now, somebody else earlier did mention Bob Flowerdew, and I didn't bring that book that I've got from Bob Flowerdew's out with me, but I have got a second one, and it's called The Edible Gardener from Bob Flowerdew, and that's my second gardening Bible. It's a really, not as thick as that one by far, not as thick as the Titchmarsh book, but again, it just comes from Bob's passion. Excuse me, this is trouble when you eat. Bob's passion for growing your own and eating your own. It just goes through. It's a fantastic book, and I absolutely love it. Ian Meadows, did you eat it hot or cold? Always hot for me. I've got to admit, a little sneaky thing. I actually cooked this yesterday and ate it today, so it is cold. That's the first slice I ate. The only reason I did that is because today I've been out visiting the garden, so I knew I was going to have time to cook it, create the video, and etc. before doing this live show. So I thought ahead. So it's cold, but I'm sure if I was to whack it in the microwave, saying it'll be just as good warm. Idaho Garden Girl, hello to you. Hope you are well. And Jen is also saying cold for me too. Yeah, I mean, I just love the chunks of asparagus in this. Going over it. I love those chunks of asparagus. And even better, it's nice and fresh. Slippery, out my garden yesterday, cooked, eaten. Fantastic. Turbo Stream, the expert series are quite good books too. Lots of topics to collect and read up on. Who's the author of the expert series, or who published them? Stephen Moscow, Allotment Month by Month by Alan Buckingham. I've actually got that book as well, and that's also a very, very good book to have on an allotment, or if you have an allotment. So yeah, I've got that one. What I like about it is it gives you little projects to do each month and little tasks to do. It's a very well thought out book. My only trouble I have with it is it's quite a small book, and it doesn't really go into the plants so much. Like I say, this one, you've got entire pages dedicated to certain plants or how to grow, and sometimes, and the information you get from that really does help, and really does, if you're trying to research something or want to learn something, it's in there. The allotment month by month doesn't quite go into depth in those plants, but it has a lot of how-to guides or projects. Jen's allotment. I find some things taste nicer the day after as the flavors mature. Definitely agree with that. Absolutely, because I absolutely love curry, and they always taste better a day after. Turbo Stream, always hot quiche for me, please. I'll try and remember that. Here we go. Do you use many books? Message the veg grower or that fella Lee. Oh, don't. Ian Meadows doesn't use any books. He tends to message myself or Lee to find out more. Or you just ask in this live show. Don't forget, if anybody has any questions or anything they want to ask, hit it out, and between us, I'm sure we can all come up with an answer. I should have said that at the beginning. The expert series by D.G. Hassayon. I'm probably I hate surnames sometimes when I can't pronounce things. I don't know if I've seen those or not, but I'll check them out. Turbo Stream saying, yep, that's definitely the one. Oh, and Jens came in with Hugh Richards' 2 books are fab. I learned a lot from those. I've not actually, I feel bad saying this because I quite like Hugh, but I've not actually read his books, in all honesty. That is going on my list of something I should buy and check out, actually, Hugh's books. But I like Hugh. He's such a lovely bloke. Ian Meadows has found plenty of answers on the Facebook page at the Veg Grower Podcast. On the Veg Grower Podcast Facebook group, he's saying that. I think this is the thing these days. I'm in quite a few allotment groups on Facebook, and there's a lot of questions being asked about out there, and people sharing their experience and answers. And you don't get that with books. You don't get a multitude of answers or various things at the moment. Excuse me. I'm going through the old. I've been eating, so my eating and talking, so it sits around here. Muddy Boots. I have a very old book handed down to me by my father, The Garden for Expert and Amateur, Daily Express publication, 1930. Wow, that is an old book. So, Nigel, on that subject, being such an old book, do you find any of the information within that book still relevant, or is some of it outdated? Because I've read some books from like the 1980s where they've recommended sowing garlic in March. And I mean, we've got the experiment running at the moment with garlic, but what we're led to believe is that the garlic will not grow, will not split if it's planted late. And I'm wondering if that's the same in some of these old books. Have they got information that isn't relevant, or where they recommend the use of certain weed killers that are now banned? Let us know in the comments, or call in, or zap yourself in. I'll add the link to zap yourself in now. There we go. What else have we got? Lots going on. So somebody in the Facebook group, I always find good advice on from other plot holders on the allotment. The old boys know their stuff. That is got to be one of the biggest advantages I feel we have with allotments, is that people can go on there and we can really share their experience. And they've been on that plot for, in my allotment, tens of years. You know, there's people that have been on there since the 80s. If they don't know how to grow something on their plot, they don't know. It's from Stuart Reynolds, by the way, that comment. And I think that's so true. Experience speaks wonders much better than anything else. So Nigel has came back. Lots of banned chemicals and poisons used, but a lot of gardening techniques and planting still valued. No mention of no dig. Are you a digger? Are you not a fan of no dig then, Nigel? The only reason I ask is that I know a lot of people would say that digging was quite a recent invention, and before that we used to never dig. So I'm interested to find out if that's the case in your book from the 1930s. Jen, I recently learned how... Oh, hang on. Sorry, I've just realised we got somebody hiding. Hello, Ruth. How are you doing? Okay, I don't know if they're there. I couldn't hear them. I don't know what's going on there. Somebody... Normally it makes a beep when they come in. I didn't hear that. So if you are there, let me know. But you haven't got a video up. Until you got a camera up, I don't know. I recently learned how to check bean seed viability from someone on the plot. Not seen this way before, but it worked well. Yeah, I mean, I heard a lot of people talking about checking bean seeds and stuff. I've never actually had a problem with bean seeds not germinating, in all honesty, but that's partly because I just throw them in and make the most of it. So Nigel's came back. I'm a traditional gardener who digs and double digs where required. Yeah, I mean, I'm what you would class as a no digger, but I have no problem with people who dig. I think it's people who are going to do whatever they want to do, and that's quite right. That's quite right. The great thing is that people can talk about it and share their different experiences. That's probably a whole nother debate, isn't it, to dig or not to dig? That one we might save for the winter. I sow beans on my moist kitchen paper after my allotment friend told me about it. Yeah, I've just thrown them into some compost. I'm just having a look over my shoulder to see if they've germinated yet. They haven't. I just throw them in and see if they germinate. They do. Generally speaking, I don't have any seeds or bean seeds particularly that are older than 2 years old. So Stuart Reynolds is always digging mostly bindweed out my plot. I will admit, I think the couch grass I have on my allotment, if I dug, I wouldn't have as much problem with couch grass compared to no dig. And Jen, these were old seeds from a packet instead of seeds in the usual manner. Yeah, totally. Oh, right, Ian Beddoes always comes up with some interesting questions. Not totally sure what you mean by no dig. How do you get roots out from the weeds without digging? And you've hit the nail upon the head there, Ian. So what no dig is that you mulch or you cover the soil with a thick layer of compost, manure, and the idea is that weeds won't germinate through it because it's sort of stifling them out. But things like couch grass, which I think in some ways it actually encourages, you really do need to dig those roots out, in my experience and my opinion. Now, talking of experience and opinions, I've got some photos that have came through, some from the group and some that have been sent to me. So let's have which one is it? Yeah, there we go. Let's have a quick look at these. So firstly, Ian Beddoes, who's always a comedian in the group, has been sharing some of his comedy photos and saying he started my garden. The beefsteak seems to have done well. Next, Stephen Ticehurst has been making a compost bin out of some of his old decking that he's been digging up from his own plot. Stuart Jackson, who we had on earlier, last week he spoke about his protection for his brassicas that he built, and I asked him to send a photo in, and this is what he sent in. And I've had this photo for a couple of weeks from Amanda Joy. She's a few weeks ago we were talking about polytunnels, and she'd asked a question about whether we thought polytunnels were worth it. Well, she got hers now set up, and I've got to say it's looking fantastic. It looks like a nice size one, looks nice and strong, and hopefully that is doing well for you in surviving the strong winds. I think that is it. So yeah, we go. Keep your photos coming. If you want to send them to me, richard@veggrowerpodcast.co.uk. Leave them in our Facebook group and we'll use them in to create conversation pieces is the idea. Or you can do it through WeTransfer. I have got a little video if or the ability to play in videos as well. If you want to send a video that we can play in as well. On that note, otherwise I get another telling off on Facebook. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell notification or whatever it is to get notified every time we go live on either Facebook or YouTube. I've got to say that, otherwise they'll get told off. I planted runner beans directly in the ground. This is from Stuart Reynolds, I think, and they have germinated. I think we're getting to that time of year now where we can really start planting our seeds in the ground, if that's what you want to do. Here, it seems so many dandelions are at the moment. The air was thick with the seeds on our allotment. I don't think we've had many dandelions, or I certainly haven't had as many dandelions this year compared to last year. Ian Beddoes, why take the roots out? Oh, sorry, this is Digwell Green Fingers. Why take the roots out? They rot down in a few months. Most do just twist out when you lift the veg. Yeah, that is the argument for hoeing or not removing or not digging, is that the roots will, if they haven't got any way to photosynthesize by growing leaves, they will lose their energy. They will die back and rot down into the soil. So that is something you can say definitely for no dig. I just find with the couch grass that I have, I think my problem is I cannot make enough compost to really cover it all. Turbo Stream, don't forget the ones I sent in, Richard. You know what? I downloaded them and I'm not sure where I've popped them. So I will save your ones, Turbo Stream, for next week. That way I know I've definitely got some for next week. Apologies. You did send me to them. Ian Beddoes, learning yet again in this group. Thanks all. You're welcome. This is what I love about having this chat. We can all learn and we can all share our own experiences. I'm going to have another piece of this little quiche. Like I say, if you want to call in or zap yourself in, then please do. Give my voice a little chance to have a break. And so good. That is so good. I'm going to have a swig of my coffee as well. Turbo Stream's taken out. Well, he has sent me photos, and I've downloaded them on my main machine, but I forgot to transfer them out to here. So apologies. I will remember. That. The fisherman. I'm with Muddy Boots. I prefer the traditional methods. What's traditional? The reason I say is that ploughing fields was quite a recent, in some ways, thing that we would do. Farmers prior to the plough, I don't know how they would garden. So it's kind of interesting. Idaho, is this the correct? Richard at the Veg Grower podcast.co.uk. You did send me an email, which I replied to. Hopefully you got my reply confirming the email, but it's .co.uk. Just remembered, Richard, I'm top of the list for full-size plot. Fantastic. Fingers crossed in the next year I'll be leaving my tiny 30 by 5 foot plot to a full size. Can't wait to get growing in there. Fantastic. So pleased to hear somebody's getting a bigger plot and expanding their growing space. But I'll tell you what, I'm incredibly jealous about the garden I visited today because it was so big. Lisa's garden, she's got a tiered front garden, 3 tiers, driveway up one side. Well, I could fit my garden in one of those tiers. It was so big. I'm so jealous. Love a garden that size. I really, really would. Surprised the mug is still in one piece in the shed. I've got 3 of them, but I do look after them. Topic for future discussion. Has anyone tried a traditional seedbed direct sowing and transplanting it out? Yes, I have. I can answer that. I have tried that. The trouble I found with it is even in that seed bed, I got weeds, and it was difficult to work out what was weeds and what was what I was actually growing. So that's why I tend to stick with what I do. Although I am considering making another seed bed. And off topic from Digwell. Anyone else feel the earthquake in Bristol this afternoon? No, well, I didn't. I'm not in Bristol, so definitely not. If anybody is in Bristol and they felt the earthquake, didn't even know there was one. So, yeah, fascinating. You probably hear people saying that it's impossible to get earthquakes in Bristol. It's not. I've spoken to a geologist who's a friend of mine, and he will tell you can get earthquakes anywhere. It's just they're most likely on the major fault lines. I used to dig out, but have a dicky back. This is from Stuart Jackson. No dig is the only way I can garden. I think there's pros and cons for whatever method you like to do, and there's no shame in either gardening or not gardening. Ian McGorgan, Richard, I've tried to grow Brussels sprouts in clay soil and heal them in well, but still they came out flowery. So, okay, Ian, did you may have healed them in well, but did you put a cane or a strong post for them to tie against so that they don't rock? That is probably what leads to them going flowery as a guess. If you did do that, well, then we'll have to let us know in the comments, and we'll have to come back and think again. Ian Meadows, my rhubarb seedling is almost 2-inch tall in the greenhouse. When should I plant them out? I think you let them grow a bit bigger. I've never grown rhubarb from seed, so I'll throw that out there. I was going to say let them grow a little bit bigger, but we'll see what anybody else has out there. Nigel asking Digwell, did they knock the cider bottles off the table? Important question. My new garden, 1/3 to half an acre, all are excited but a little overwhelmed with the prospect of turning it into a veg/flower garden. Yeah, I mean, I would love that size land. Absolutely love it. My advice for being a bit overwhelmed is I would be inclined to treat it a bit like an allotment. Just start in a small area and work forwards. So start small and try and clear it out. That's my advice anyway. Sean, when living in Manchester, we had a series of earthquakes over several weeks back in the 2000s. It's not uncommon. Where I live, fairly close to Portsmouth, we get them quite often, or we're known to get them quite often. It's purely because my geologist friend was explaining, you get a major plate, but then you get minor cracks in the ground as well. That's how it was explained to me. So Ian is saying my thoughts on the Brussels sprouts. I was right. He didn't put a post in to climb them up against or tie them in. I think that's all you got to do. They may well be held in, and that probably do most of it. But if they a post for them to be supported by, it's just going to stop the wind from rocking them like that and making it worse. So there you go. That's something you can try on the next one. The flowers are tasty on salads. All is not lost. Is this the Brussels sprout flowers? I think Chi is on about. I think Brussels sprout flowers are actually quite tasty as well. Or what we did with Brussels sprouts this year was I made them into what were they called? They're an Indian thing, like Brussels sprout samosas. Or Brussels sprout bhajis, that's it. Brussels sprout bhajis. So I grated them, added them with some chickpea flour, bit of egg, and then fried those, and they were really nice as bhajis. That's something I'm going to have to cook, isn't it? I'm going to have to cook those. That won't be till December time. I'll have to cook those and make a video for it and eat them live on here. Gee, I meant the Brussels sprouts opened up, so we call them flowery, but did not know you could eat the flowers. There you go. And Ian Beddoes is having trouble typing on the keyboards. We all have it. Here we go. This is an interesting one. Sprouts covered in chocolate are great for Halloween. Where's that comment gone? That does sound quite interesting. I'm going to have to give that a try as well. Stuart Jackson, is that a gardening t-shirt? Yes. Is that my podcasting t-shirt, as I call it? Warning, may start talking about gardening. Amazon, tenner, I think it was. David P. Kathleen says hello from Seattle. Just put our French beans out on hazel poles. Fantastic. And hello to you both out in Seattle. Yeah, fantastic. I've sown lots of beans, and I'm going to be sowing some more beans later on this evening, actually. Though members of the Supporters Club will hear, be putting out the podcast tonight of sowing the Lady Di runner beans. and that's going out a bit later on this evening for supporter club members. But yeah, I'm looking forward to so many things this year. I feel this year that I've got pretty much everything sown that I want to grow. Nothing's quite in the ground just yet, but I feel like we're just waiting on to get those in there. And once we do, wham, bam, here we go. Fantastic. Off they go. Looking forward to it. What have we got? What have we got coming in? Lots of comments. Sorry. Roasted sprouts. Yum. Yeah. I saw something else. Oh yeah, Brussels sprout tops taste just like small cabbages. Yes, that's something I also do actually. When I harvest Brussels sprouts, I'll harvest all the Brussels sprouts off, and then especially if you cut the stalk off, but the top, the very top of the actual plant, it's a lot of leaf that is actually edible, and I will cut that up and use it like a spring green or cabbages or something like that. It's really tasty, and also means you get 2 crops from one. Highly recommend people do that. Highly recommend that. Stuart Jackson's Lady Di are up and ready to go in the ground. All we need is some warm weather. We're going to get warm weather. Actually, I noticed today as I was driving home, when the sun came out, it was pretty warm. It's just when it was raining, it cooled off. So I think the warm weather is there. We'll be catching up by the end of the growing season after such a slow... Will everything catch up by the end of the growing season after such a cold, slow start? Yeah, everything will catch up. Certain things we may struggle, the things that need a long growing period. The chilies are something that needs a long growing period, or the melons and watermelon particularly. They may struggle, but I think overall everything else is going to catch up. Nui 99, never grown sprouts yet, but she will hope to do so next year. Yeah. Every year I try and grow sprouts. In fact, I've got to get some into the Christmas dinner garden that we've built and are using to grow our Christmas dinner at home. It's the potatoes in that actually at the moment. I planted the potatoes out and they are really nice and big, the plants. They're doing better than my ones on the allotment, rather interestingly. I think it's because my garden at home is a bit more sheltered than my allotment, so it gets a bit more protection and runs a couple of weeks ahead than my allotment. As in some ways, I wish I could grow more at home than my allotment, but I love going down the allotment. So it's a win-win. It's a juggling act. That being said, if I created a more sheltered allotment, I'd probably be able to grow more on the allotment or get an earlier start on the allotment. Nigel is asking, the sprouts that went flowery, were they true Brussels sprouts or flower sprouts or broccale? A good question. Were they true Brussels sprouts, Ian, or were they kale sprouts or whatever they call them? I know there's so many. I tried those. They were they looked like, well, they didn't even look like sprouts. They just looked like very loose sprouts and with a taste of kale. I wasn't a big fan of them. Allotment Life has joined. Hello to you. And he says hello to everyone else. We're going to go a bit longer again tonight. I think last week we seemed to go to 7:30. I think we'll stick at the same tonight, especially as there's lots of people watching and joining in. So we'll go longer. Kalettes. That's the word I was looking for. Kalettes. Thank you. I knew there was something I couldn't think of. But Ian does say they were true Brussels sprouts. Stuart Jackson has got a good question. Do I need flowers next to my runner beans to stop aphids? I don't think it will do any harm. I've got lots of marigold plants. They're not in here, I just realised. Lots of marigold plants that I'm going to be planting out, and nasturtiums as well, which are also not in here, looking over, for that very reason, to try and deter the aphids from my main crops. I don't think it will do any harm. Certainly don't think it will do any harm. If and you've got nothing to lose by trying. So Stuart Reynolds, I think this is Stuart Reynolds anyway. I'm going to try more perennial veg after watching Gardener's World last week. I've heard about this, but I'm got to catch up on it. I heard they were doing more perennial veg, and they were exploring what perennial veg that we can grow. And I've often looked at this. I've often wondered what perennial veg we can grow. I've got rhubarb, obviously. Now, I love rhubarb. It's delicious. I've got a lot of it. You saw last week what I made rhubarb full with it. My asparagus, I call that a perennial, even though 20 years is pretty good. You get out of it. So that's a perennial, highly worth growing, delicious. Globe artichokes. I've grown globe artichokes, but I've not found a way to cook them in a way that I find really satisfying. What are they? Jerusalem artichokes, love them. They're technically not perennial, but I treat them like a perennial because they take up that same bed all the time. Yeah, anybody else has got any other perennial veg ideas, please do share with us. Durka, should I plant a whole bed of Brussels sprouts? They do better. They like their own company. So Brussels sprouts is a member of the brassica family. So I put them in the same bed as a brassica. Depends how many people you are feeding. I find that 4 plants of Brussels sprouts is plenty, but we like our Brussels sprouts. So we do, when they're available, we do tend to eat a lot of them. Most people will probably only grow 1 Brussels sprout plant for Christmas dinner. And that's enough. It depends. Entirely depends how many people you want to feed, or how much you want. Is my idea on that. You mean marigolds, single or pot marigolds? I think they are single marigolds. I can't remember off the top of my head, Ian. This regards to Stuart's question about deterring aphids. But nasturtiums are the one that would really deter the aphids and the black fly. Some people overwinter runner beans and grow them next year. I have heard that. I've not had any success myself, but I have heard people try that. I do overwinter broad beans. Every year I'll grow those, and I think they're brilliant. For me, they just look like the allotment or the growing space is doing something over the winter, which is why I always grow broad beans. What else? Stuart saying, very interesting. The lady had an allotment full of perennial veg. I've got to watch it. I've not seen it myself. So let me know in the comments if anybody else found that really interesting who has watched it. I don't watch TV, is my trouble. Steve House, hello. Summer Savoy works well with runner beans. There you go. I've got some of that somewhere. I have to grow those together. I saw allotment live. 2 sprout plants are enough for me and my wife. Yeah, I mean, you don't need a huge amount of Brussels sprout plants. It all depends how much you eat and how well you look after them. Obviously, being a brassica, lime the soil, they really do a lot better with lime in the soil before planting. Digwell Greenfingers, that's me, Richard. I know, it just threw me for a second. I'm like, hang on, I can see you in both places. Apologies, Steve or Digwell. There. Kara's Tidbits, hello to you. Hope you are well. Ian, if you find it a struggle with growing sprouts and cabbages, as I have slugs, kale I grow with no problem, and you only need a few plants as you can keep picking the same plants. I think a mixture of all is what I tend to do. So I grow kale, I'll grow sprouts, cabbages, cauliflowers, and hope that at least one of them will survive. I don't have problems with slugs and snails in this area, though, for some reason. I was discussing this just earlier today with Lisa, actually, and I said I think the reason that I don't have problems with slugs and snails is because of the seagulls that we get. Here's somebody who might be able to answer that, who's just popped in. Hello to you, Bill and Val. I don't know if you find that we don't seem to get many troubles with slugs and snails on the allotment or even in my garden. And I think it is purely down to the seagulls, as they have a tendency to come along and eat them. It might, from what I've noticed. Kara's partner pricked out 36 sprouts. I really hope you like Brussels sprouts if you're going to grow that many. But only I find Brussels sprouts, they need quite a big area to grow in as well. So you need a lot of space to grow that many Brussels sprouts anyway. 36, that's a lot. I've got to wet my whistle quickly. Oh, we have a caller. Hello, caller. What's your name and where you calling from? Hello? Hello? Can you hear me? I can't hear anything. Hang on. Let me just check. I've turned the volume up on you. Keep talking if you're there. Are you there? Anybody there?
I am.
Yes.
I am.
Sorry, that was my mistake. I've changed my my mixer around.
No worries. So what I meant with the Brussels sprout is they like their own company. So what if you were to get together with like 3 or 4 other people in your allotment place and you made one bed, then you could share those. I didn't mean for you to grow a whole bed and eat them all yourself.
Oh, right. I'm with you. I'm with you now. Sorry. Yes.
Yeah. See, and then they stand up better then too, because they can hold each other up. And it's, I don't know, something about the pollination too. It's one of these veggies that do better if there's a bunch of them.
Oh, that's interesting. That's very interesting. I've never tried that, but that's something to think about. And I'll have to run an experiment and see just how well they grow better on their own.
Yeah. So that's what I meant. Sorry.
No, that's fine. That's fine. It gets lost in translation sometimes when reading comments. So that's fantastic. Yeah. How's things out in Canada?
Oh, we always get a warm hit in May, or usually, I should say. And I think it's up around 19 right now, and it's only, what time is it? 9 minutes after 11 in the morning.
Wow. So it's warming up quite nicely.
Yeah. And you know, you guys sometimes talk about the greenhouse versus the polytunnel. I'd take greenhouse over polytunnel any day, any week. My runner beans, those Vortex green beans are like 2 and 3 feet tall.
Oh, wow. Wow.
I don't even bother. My garlic is in the greenhouse. It's already flowering. I got to cut the scapes off.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The greenhouse, and it's just, we don't have any heat in it. We don't have any light in it, but it's our fave. It's our absolute fave.
Wow.
So
fantastic. I'm just hearing some weird noises going on outside. I don't know if the microphone's picking it up, but there's some.
No,
there's some really.
I don't hear a thing.
Oh wow, you're lucky.
Yeah. Anyways, Richard, super show. Next time you better be sending off some of that quiche before you show us.
Yeah, I'll have to give everyone a warning, so we'll think about that next time.
Yeah, I expect a piece of quiche in the mail.
Okay, I'll see what I can do.
Anyways, have a good Sunday, guys.
You too. You take care. Thank you.
You too. Bye.
Bye. There we go. A phone call all the way from Canada. And that's interesting, actually. I've never heard of grown Brussels sprouts or grown them separately. It produces better. So I think I might have to find a space and try and run that experiment and just see how well they do. Or if anybody else out there has found that anyway. I was saying, while I was on that phone call, I could hear, I don't know if the wind, but there was some really real scraping noises, like something was going on. Either that or my neighbours are out and about. Never mind. Or Ian saying the noise is Amanda calling you in for supper. She's probably right, but I've had my quiche, so I'm all right. I've had a mouthful of quiche anyway. Carlos, I live near the sea, and the only thing the seagulls do is make lots of noise in the background and mock me on videos. Honestly, so many slugs. Okay. I don't. It was just my theory, because I've noticed I don't get many slugs and snails. Okay, we've got hedgehogs in the garden, but on a whole, I find that we don't get many slugs and snails. And my theory was the seagulls, but the other theory I've got is we've got the biggest nematode manufacturing place in the town that I live in, and perhaps some of the nematodes escape from that factory and venture out. That's the only other theory I've got. A polytunnel is a lot cheaper than a greenhouse. That's somebody else standing up for the polytunnels. That was a conversation we had a while back, wasn't it? I like to stake my sprouts or they blow. Excuse me. And Jens, possibly due to how dry it can get with you guys too. I'm happy to send you some. I have loads. Have I missed a comment? What are you what have you got loads of? I might have missed something. Sorry. It happens from time to time. And Carl was saying that those 36, we're definitely not growing all of those 36 Brussels sprouts. Maybe have space for 4 at the most. Well, here's the thing. Now Dirk has just shared that little bit of information about growing better in a bed on their own. I'm thinking I might need to grow more. We'll see. I have to figure out a way I can do this, but I think I've got an idea. Oh, sorry, Jen was saying the slugs. That's it. Yeah, she's happy. No, you can keep the slugs. Don't need them. Seagulls eat ice cream and chips from what I've seen, Stuart R. They also eat donuts straight out of my hand when I've just been given it from a customer. I was not happy. A little... Yeah, literally stole it straight out of my hand. I was like, yeah, got a donut from a customer. 2 seconds later, it's gone. Stuart Jackson. My dad always grew his sprouts in one bed, only 10 to 15 plants, and very rarely had to stake them. There we go. That's all very, very interesting. Right, if anybody does want to zap themselves in, we'll go to 7:30. I'll add the link in the comments now, unless you're in the Facebook group. Click on the link and you'll appear on screen with myself. Or if you want to call in, 07307 135 174 and share with us any gardening questions, or, well, I think we've moved on from the gardening Bible, but if anybody does have any final thoughts on their gardening Bible, let us know. So, as I said earlier, on the podcast this week, we've got Lisa Mary, and I cannot pronounce the surname. It's a Greek name, if I remember right. She took a trip to her allotment, and she shared with us a few stories from her garden. And I tell you what, her garden, her tomatoes, her chilies were looking huge, really looking good. So it was really pleasing to see that. That's coming up on Monday's podcast. It's all recorded. I've just got to do a bit of editing, so it'll definitely be out. Let me get rid of that comment. And I've got this week off work as well, so I'm planning to try and do a lot of gardening if the weather holds out. And really want to get a lot of things in the ground this week if we can manage it. Continuing on with the Christmas dinner bed as well. Actually, I've sown some carrots and some parsnips in that, so we're going to get Christmas dinner growing in there. Turbo Stream. I'm working my way through the Garden Focused website. It's a brilliant resource. Garden Focused website is. We spoke about this just a couple of weeks ago. It is a fantastic resource and really well researched. It's a bit of a clunky website, but apart from that, I think it's a really, really useful resource. Skinny Jean Gardner has just came in at the end, catching the end. Hello, mate. Hope you are well. And Kara's tidbits, probably a combination of things that help from with the slimy ones. I have lots of methods which reduces them, although sent a fair few on Chard to a friend. Oops, which is probably helping too. Yeah, I mean, I could never figure out why we don't have many problems with slugs and snails in my garden or my allotment. And my theory was the seagulls or the hedgehogs that we tend to have, or the chickens. But I don't know. To allotment life. I have the rest of my life of work. I retired last November. I've got to say, I'm after furloughed for 3 months last year. I'm really looking forward to retiring and spending my entire day in the garden doing what I want to do. I've only got another 30 years to go before I can do that. So, counting down the days. Now we started this off with gardening Bibles, but to fill in the last 10 minutes, and Turbo Stream has hit on this, your garden resources. Now, this is an interesting thing. Turbo Stream said about his garden, or discovering the gardenfocus.co.uk. Absolutely brilliant garden resource. And it's full of information to go and get what you need to know out from. If anybody else has any good websites like that they tend to go to when they try and find information out, please do share it in the comments or in the phone call or something. There was one guy whose website I always used to visit to try and find it out, and I can't remember his name anymore, or the name of a website. He wrote books on allotments, and he was sort of seen as the guru for allotments, and I just cannot remember his name. I'm hoping, if I keep thinking, it's going to come. I think it was allotment.org.uk, thinking about it. And that was a really good resource because he would speak from an allotment point of view, from an experience point of view. Stuart Jackson, we are growing Christmas dinner veg at school: parsnips, potatoes, carrots, Brussels sprouts. We will sell the veg near the holidays to the parents. Absolutely. And I think that's great, because I think the parents will probably be more interested because the children have brought it, and the children are more than likely to eat it, especially the sprouts, because they have grown it. Ian Meadows has said he finds it hard to get motivated to get in the garden now he's retired. Well, Ian, Lee and I tend to try and push you out into the garden, so there's your motivation. Motivation. Jen, I normally use the RHS website first and go from there. Yeah, RHS, I think they got quite a good information on their website, and also it's very easy to read the information. Amanda Joy, not a website, but there's a gardening app called Candide that has a great plant ID function. Yes, Candide are fantastic. They're if I remember right, they're a South African company, but they're trying to do a lot of different things to try and make the most out of the. They're trying to do explosive things on the gardening scene, from what I understand. But the Candide app is actually pretty informative and pretty good. Ian, the Dr. Hessian, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Hessian books are my Bibles. They're easy to understand when you are first starting out in gardening. I don't know. Now I've seen Dr. Hessian, I'm thinking I have seen it, but I think these were the expert series that was mentioned earlier. I haven't seen them myself. I'm going to have to check them out. Skinny Jean's also saying the RHS for him too. Yeah, RHS is getting a lot of love. And Adrian, I retired getting pension last December. Congratulations to you. And as Idaho Garden Girl said to Allotment Life, congratulations for retiring. I'm really looking forward to retirement after all this time. Ian is saying hello to Kevin, but I can't see Kevin anywhere. So is he hiding? God knows. God knows. Allotment Life, I have all the motivation I need to get into the garden since I now have a path to the pony tunnel to keep the wheels clean on my motorized wheelchair. I know you've had health problems, and that's not even scratching the surface. I know it's pretty serious, and that's something I find inspiring when you see somebody like Allotment Life and how he's having to garden from a wheelchair. I just think it goes to show that if there's a will, there's a way, and you don't have to give up on your passions, regardless of what happens. I'm sure Allotment Life would turn around and say he would prefer to have his legs, but he dealt an unlucky hand there, very unlucky to say the least. Cara is saying, I grew up reading Dr. Hessian. I learned so much. I'm going to have to check out these books and find them out a bit more. I'm going to make a note of that to find out more and what's going on. Right, I'm going to start getting ready to close up. We've got about 7 minutes to go. If anybody does want to zap themselves in or call in for the last few minutes, the Zap link is in the comments, or the number is 07307 135 174. On that note, in a couple of weeks' time, bank holiday weekend, on the Sunday, I'm down at Bewley for the Spring Gardeners World. Excuse me. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do the live show yet. To go live at 6 o'clock is going to be tricky because I either have to do it in the car park or somewhere like that. I might delay it to 8 o'clock, or I might do it the night before. I'm not sure yet, but just to warn everyone, in a couple of weeks' time, it might be slightly different. Oh, here we go. We have a caller. Hello, caller. What's your name and where you calling from?
Batman, it's Lee Connolly, the Sneezing Gardener.
Hello, mate. How you doing?
Hey, dude. I thought I might as well call in for the last minute.
Yeah, fantastic. My throat's getting sore, so you've just rescued me.
There's a book called, it's probably been mentioned tonight. I'm literally just rocking in at the last 15, but Allotment, what the heck was it called? Allotment Month to Month or something like that.
By Alan Buckingham.
Yes.
Yes.
Brilliant book.
That's a book that was mentioned earlier, but it's the only book that's been mentioned twice, apart from Dr. Hessian.
Hessian.
Hessian. That's it, Hessian.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I don't think I know a gardener that hasn't got that allotment book.
It's true. It's true.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
It is. It's full of projects, if I remember correctly, as opposed to
sort of sees you through the whole year.
Yeah, as opposed to how to grow plants so much. It's more about setting the garden up, building an allotment.
Yeah, it's pretty handy, man. I like it.
Yeah,
that was my first book. I've still got that. That's the one that survived.
Oh wow!
I love books.
Yeah. Is it a book that you've actually read?
Yes, well, I'm not saying I've read it back to back, but I've dipped in and out of it.
Yeah. See, on that note, Jen's allotment month by month is one I bought last year, but couldn't remember the name of it.
That's it. There you go. See, told you.
There we go. Good.
What have you? I'm sure you've already said your book, but what is your book?
It's an Alan Titchmarsh book called The Kitchen Gardener. It's quite a thick book. You know, how many pages are in it? Let's find out. 313 pages. So it's quite a thick book, but it's full of good information.
Oh, he's quite a super. He's got so many books out. I've had about 4 of his.
Yeah, he does have a lot of books. He has written a lot of books, hasn't he, over the years?
Yeah, lots to talk about. Lots to talk about.
Yeah.
Well, I just thought I'd say hello, mate. Hope you're good. And if the last 15 minutes has been this good, then hopefully the rest of the show's been good as well.
Yeah, it's always good, I hope, anyway. I do my best.
Nice. Yeah, nice. Loving it.
Right.
Bye, dude. I'll speak to you later.
Have a good one. Cheers, man.
Bye, mate.
Bye. There we go. That was Lee Connolly. Another one for Month by Month, the allotment guide, Alan Buckingham. As we close up, I have a tatty old book from the 1930s. Don't know the name, from my father, which is good for info. Yeah, I mean, I know I've got an old book from the 1930s that was my granddad's. I've flicked through it. I know some of the information in there is a bit outdated or not very relevant this day and age, but I certainly do think there's a lot of good information in these old books. Ian Beddoes won't be able to watch a lot. Yeah, we'll need to drive home to Manchester, so yeah, we'll be seeing Ian Beddoes down at this event. Cara Titbits, adaptions are so important. Glad you can get your polytunnel at Allotment Life. Yeah, this is something I hit upon. Allotment Life, my main change in gardening was to use different tools to make life easier. Improvise, adapt, and overcome, as they say. But I think, in all honesty, I've seen your videos. I think it's inspirational how you've adapted and acclimatized to the hand that life has dealt to you in order to keep up your passion for gardening. So, yeah, please do keep sharing with us, how you're getting on. Ian, not seen the Hessian books in the garden centre, so try second-hand bookshops. I'll have a look on Kindle, in honesty, probably on there. Right, okay. Or as Tabo Stream, try the local library. They usually have a good selection of gardening books to read. Yeah, definitely. There's so many options, so many places we can go and find books, and there's plenty for us to keep doing. Right, I'm going to wrap up for this evening. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining me. I'm going to go and finish off my quiche and finish off my cup of coffee, which has gone cold by now. Not unexpected, is it? We're going to wrap up. We'll be back again next Sunday, 6 o'clock. I think what we're going to do next week is we had a bit of a discussion on no dig versus digging. We'll go into that into a lot of detail just next week and see what everyone's take on that is. Unless anything else crops up, please do send your pictures. Please do send your videos. I'll cook something as well. There will be a warning, you will get hungry event. So thanks so much for joining. See you again next week.